The top 10 B&M coasters that I've ridden. Yes, that I've ridden by B&M. Now, these are the top 10 roller coasters by B&M that I've ridden, and I have ridden more than 10 B&M roller coasters. However, I have not really gotten the energy to make a list of more than my top 10, and usually the top 10 is the furthest I go, unless it's an overall list of roller coasters in general. But without further ado, let's count down my top 10 B&M coasters that I've ridden. Afterburner Carowinds is a great B&M inverted roller coaster and is one of my favorites out there. It's intense, it's a good inverted roller coaster, it's smooth, and it's ironically, with it being pretty smooth, it's also one of the fairly older B&M inverted roller coasters. I believe it's from like 1996, 97. Please let me know in the comments below. But it's an old roller coaster. I believe it's about 20 years old. And it's still running well from the time that I rode it. So it's a pretty awesome roller coaster. And it's one of the better B&M inverted roller coasters out there. Definitely better than a majority of them. Next up is my favorite B&M inverted roller coaster, Banshee at Kings Island. It is also one of the record breaker B&M inverted roller coasters, with it being the longest B&M inverted roller coaster, and it is my favorite. It's intense, it's smooth, but that's also because it's newer. It's from like 2014, so it's obviously going to be one of the newer roller coasters at Kings Island, obviously right behind Mystic Timbers now. But this ride is an awesome roller coaster, and if you have the chance to hit up Kings Island, it's one of the best rides at the park from what I've experienced, and it's such a cool B&M inverted roller coaster. Now, I know most people won't agree that it is the best one out there, but to me, it is. One of the B&Ms that I first rode this year is Thunderbird at Holiday World, and this is an awesome B&M wing roller coaster. It is my favorite B&M wing roller coaster, beating out Gatekeeper by quite a bit as well. Notice how Gatekeeper is not on this list, and I'm saying it right now, it isn't. Thunderbird at Holiday World is an awesome launch wing roller coaster, and it is the first of its kind to be a launch wing roller coaster. It is one of the best rides at Holiday World, right behind the Voyage, if you ask me, and it's intense. It has a great launch. It has some really cool inversions, and it's very, very smooth, as what it would be for a newer roller coaster like Thunderbird. Apollo's Chariot at Busch Gardens Williamsburg is an awesome B&M Hyper roller coaster. However, it is not my favorite. It is the first B&M Hyper in this list, which also means that it's probably my least favorite B&M Hyper. It's an awesome roller coaster, don't get me wrong. It's obviously beating out the other 3 roller coasters in this list. However, it is still not the best B&M Hyper, if you ask me. Now, I know most people consider this one of the best B&M Hypers out there. But if you ask me, because the last time I rode this was a long-ass time ago, I would have to say that this is probably one of the lesser of the B&Ms that I've ridden, when it comes to hypers especially. But it is still an awesome roller coaster. It has some great airtime. It's a fairly intense roller coaster, and it is fairly smooth. However, from what I hear now, it's getting a quite big rattle. So I haven't ridden it once again in a while. So if I hit it up again, I'll probably have a new review on it ASAP. But, you know, I never know when I'll be hitting that up again, so whatever. But Apollo's Chariot, Busch Gardens Williamsburg, awesome ride, making number 7. Next up is Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure, and this is yet another awesome B&M Hyper, one of the best rides at Great Adventure, if you ask me, probably right behind El Toro and right in front of King Ka. It's an awesome ride with a ton of great airtime moments. It's not an insane, intense roller coaster, not at all. There are more intense B&M Hypers out there, and there are roller coasters out there of B&M Hypers that have more airtime as well. Nitro is one of the older B&M Hypers. You also have to remember that. I believe it's from 2001, so that's 16 years old, so that's quite a while ago, and that still makes it a pretty awesome roller coaster, and it had a rattle from what I hear over like the past year or two, but whenever I ride it still to this day, I barely feel a rattle, and it's a smooth roller coaster still. Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure, an awesome ride. It runs through the trees of Great Adventure, and I just love Nitro. It's a great roller coaster, another soft spot roller coaster for me. Next up is Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland. This is an awesome B&M Hyper roller coaster, one of the best rides at Canada's Wonderlands. It has a ton of airtime, one of the more airtime-packed B&M Hypers. It's about the same intensity as every other B&M Hyper, and here's the thing. B&M Hypers are mainly focused towards airtime. It is very rare that you'll actually find a B&M Hyper that are open now, as of to this date, that are insane roller coasters. You have to look at Intamin for that, or like GCI or RMC for insane roller coasters. But B&M gives for hypers some intense airtime, not intense rides in general. But Behemoth of Canada's Wonderland has some great airtime. It's an okay roller coaster when it comes to intensity. Some of them have some okay intensity, such as Behemoth. And I love how it runs along the lake, and it's a really cool roller coaster. I definitely do love Behemoth. It's one of the better B&M Hypers, if you ask me. Next up, we have Intimidator Carowinds, another awesome B&M Hyper roller coaster with a ton of airtime, and it's as well a fairly intense roller coaster. Now, this ride, Carowinds, used to be the best until Fury 325 came along, as according to many, and I can agree with that right now. Intimidator Carowinds is still an awesome roller coaster, though, and is by far one of the best B&M Hypers out there. It has some great airtime moments. I love how it runs along the parking lot, although some people don't really like that, but I guess it's all good and dandy. But this ride as well has some great elements, and it's no doubt why it is considered one of the best B&M Hypers out there. To some people that have ridden many B&M Hypers, consider it the best. So, and it makes sense. This ride is an awesome roller coaster. I definitely did enjoy Intimidator at Carowinds. This might be an arguable one. Diamondback at Kings Island. This is my favorite B&M Hyper, and it is the last B&M Hyper on this list, so I guess you can consider what are the next two. Diamondback has some great airtime moments, although some people don't feel it has that much airtime, but when I personally experienced it, it had an awesome amount of airtime. It also was fairly intense. It had some great elements, and I love how it ran through the forest. It's kind of like Nitro. It's kind of similar to Nitro's layout, except this ride, if you ask me, is way better than Nitro. And it has some great elements. I love the splashdown. Who could forget about that? And it's one of the best rides at Kings Island, possibly even the best to me. If you ask me personally, it is the best. But I don't know, because I haven't ridden Mystic Timbers yet. If you have ridden Mystic Timbers, though, please let me know. Does it compare to Diamondback? Is it the best ride at Kings Island now? I'm hoping to hit up Kings Island again, because I really do want to hit up Mystic Timbers. So, without further ado, Diamondback at Kings Island. That's my number 3 pick for the top 10 B&M roller coasters that I've ridden. Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland is just an absurd B&M Giga roller coaster. It's so awesome. It's intense, it has some nice airtime moments, and it has a huge drop, and there's no wonder why it is one of the coolest roller coasters in the world, and one of the best roller coasters in the world. I love Leviathan, honestly. I know a lot of people kind of like underrate it. If you ask me, and this is really creepy, that this B&M Giga is probably the most underrated Giga. Probably right with Steel Dragon 2000, because no one ever mentions that one either. But Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland, if you ask me, is definitely an underrated ride. It's intense, you're flying all over the place, you have some nice, great floater airtime moments, and it's just an absurd roller coaster. But here's the thing, what could beat Leviathan? Also known as coming in at number 1, Fury 325 at Carowinds. This is my number 1 pick for best B&M roller coasters that I've ridden of top 10. Fury 325 is just an awesome roller coaster, and it's basically just a Leviathan on one steroid. This ride has some great elements, it has some nice airtime moments as well, and it has a huge, insane drop that everyone couldn't forget. And I know some people just kind of consider this ride overrated, which I have to say, yes, it is indeed. However, it is still, in my personal experience, still the best B&M roller coaster that I've ridden. I don't consider it underrated. I do not consider it overrated, but I do consider it more overrated than it is underrated, because this ride definitely gets a little bit too much love. Because there are rides out there that can definitely be better. However, this ride is still my number 1 pick for the best B&M roller coasters that I've ridden. So I hope you all enjoy. What are your top 10 B&M roller coasters? If you've ridden 10 B&M roller coasters or more, please let me know and make a list in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, and I will catch you all next time on here on this channel.